My father was a radar and computer specialist for the U.S. Navy. Shortly after my second birthday, my father was sent to the country of Panama, and we went with him. Panama would be home for 2.5 years. I enjoyed the tropical environment, and Panama would provide most of my earliest easily recallable memories. Across the street from where we lived was a deep, intimidating jungle, and aside from the green color of vegetation, was shrouded in complete darkness and mystery. It was the thing that most caught my attention from the first time we drove to our new home until the day we left Panama. To my 2 to 4-year-old mind, the jungle seemed like the end of the world. Into the jungle was something different, a world I could not imagine. Its darkness, prohibitiveness, and that man, as far as I knew, did not enter it. This was all a fascination for my young mind. Maybe not when I first arrived, but after a while, I could not think of anything that I would have wanted more than a jungle across the street from where I lived. It constantly challenged my reality. It opened my mind to endless possibilities. It demanded and captured my full attention. My thoughts were constantly of what might be beyond. The reality I knew up until then seemed limited. That is, the world of people and cities I knew. But the jungle really brought things alive. It taught my mind to consider that anything was possible. During our time there, we would see panthers, jaguars, and very large snakes come out of the jungle. A week before we moved into the military houses, an anaconda snake had climbed the stairs to our place. These can be over 30 feet or 9 meters long and weigh several hundred pounds or kilograms. There are tales of them being much longer than 30 feet, but I suppose I should consider that there are tales of men being 50 feet tall too. The wildlife was spectacular. There was the Seymour booby, a 3-foot or 1 meter tall comical odd-looking bird with large light blue feet and a clown-like walk, which seemed that the bird's intention was only to gather laughs. They are known for the trouble they get into from the stupidity of their curiosity. The word booby is an offshoot from Latin meaning clown. If one knows the early Hollywood comedian film star Groucho Marx, it seems in his attempt to gain laughs, he, in one of his films, wore flippers to double the size of his feet, causing him to walk around like a Seymour booby. Sloths were common, always seeming to enjoy themselves, as evidenced by their frequent smiling. I am sure there can be no lazier animal. They appeared to be stoned, very stoned, all while hanging upside down from tree branches, as if they were so disoriented they didn't realize there was a topside to the branch. I once saw one being captured in our neighborhood by Animal Patrol. It was swinging at its captors and fell asleep as it was doing it. It was as if the priority was rest and not protecting itself. There were tapirs, an animal related to the pig, with an appearance like a small rhino. They have what looks like the beginning of an elephant trunk and weighs up to 700 pounds or 300 kilograms. There were Maine wolves, resembling the legend of the werewolf. Some of the world's most spectacular birds hung out in my jungle. Vampire bats, flying fox bats, with a wingspan of 5.5 feet or nearly 2 meters. The beautiful quetzals, with their long tail nearly twice as long as its body, and in a mixture of blue, green, red, and white colors. Toucans in all their splendid colors and elongated beaks. Magnificently colored macaws and numerous other parrots. There were flying turkeys, who would fly high in a tree, absent of any sort of grace or elegance, certainly not realizing that it would have probably been better had they stayed on the ground. During twilight, it seemed like social hour, as the chatter among the birds was intense and loud. Tens of thousands of birds were telling one another about their day. None seemed to be listening. All were talking. Then in the course of a minute, as the evening wore on, there was a dead silence, at least from the birds. It was as if some master sergeant bird screamed, "Lights out!" There were capuchin monkeys, known for their blonde facial and shoulder hair, squirrel monkeys, and howler monkeys. The sounds of the howler monkeys sounded like something one would imagine from the Mesozoic era millions of years ago, during the age of the dinosaurs. A roar that echoed great distances and beyond the jungle. There's the capybara, similar to a large guinea pig, and is the world's largest rodent. It can be 4.5 feet long, or 1.5 meters, and weigh 200 pounds or 90 kilograms. To this day, new discoveries of unknown species of the jungle are common. We lived walking distance to the Panama Canal, very close to the Pacific Ocean, and maybe 40 miles or 65 kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean. Deadly crocodiles inhabited the waters throughout Panama. Manatees, or sea cows, were also found in the waters, up to 13 feet or 4 meters in length, and it had been surmised that early sailors mistaken sea cows to be mermaids. Quite a stretch of the imagination for a hairless creature, which is most closely related to an elephant and seems to have the body composition of a walrus. Massive insects were common. These animals were all my neighbors and added to my intrigue of the jungle. I remember once swimming in the Atlantic Ocean, and there was a metal barrier which allowed for a swimming area and would keep out the most dangerous of animals. About 3 years old, I floated up to the metal barrier and, of course, had to touch it, while imagining which creature or what creatures might be lurking just beyond the fence. My reward as I touched the fence was to get stung by a jellyfish. Despite the pain from the sting, it was something that had to be done. I had to approach the unknown. This circus of animals was very strange to my young mind, but I think later it caused me to consider that there was so much more in the world. The next episode will be a continuation and description of my time in Panama. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like. This is how YouTube decides to send it to other viewers. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.